right, everybody, welcome back. My name is Jack Paisley, and I'm the sports casual. And we've got awards that we get to talk about. Obviously, we're going to get to my dog, Pat Surtain, here in a minute. But let's start off with kind of the big story that came out tonight, and that is Lamar Jackson got absolutely fucked by these award shows. So it was basically a two-man race for the MVP, three if you count Saquon Barkley. But this is, as we all know, this is a quarterback's award, and it was between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson this year, and Josh Allen ended up catching the dub for MVP of the league this year. And I'm not saying that Josh is not an excellent quarterback or anything like that, or didn't have a great season, but I think we just saw what we saw from the NBA last year with the whole Joel Embiid versus Jokic debate. I think you saw Josh Allen win this because Lamar Jackson already has his MVPs, and everybody's been trying to crown Josh Allen as the best player in the league. And he definitely had an argument, but I mean, if you look objectively at any of the stats that they were competing in, other than playoff wins, which in theory shouldn't count towards the MVP, even though I'm skeptical, but Lamar had, I believe, every single stat backing him. That I think you saw that the NFL or whoever was voting was just like you're Lamar'd out basically. Just the same way the NBA got Jokic'd out for that little bit of time, that you were ready to crown this next giant, like, basically, like, almost a coup in terms of who the best player in the league is, because I believe at least this year it was Lamar Jackson. Like, this was his best passing year I believe he's had in his career. He's still a monster on the ground, and obviously a Derrick Henry stealing some of the shine off of him. But uh, yeah, I would say this is as close to a robbery as you're gonna see for the MVP. Uh, and yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Is that Josh Allen, while he did have an excellent season, just you got voter fraud, or like, this is not voter fraud, but you just at some point you want to see some parity in these awards, even if it's not true. Like, I'm sure that you're gonna see a bunch of people argue that Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player in the league, which you definitely have an argument there. The same way Tom Brady was arguably the best player in the league for his, or most valuable player for his organization for as long as he was playing, whether that was in Tampa or with the Patriots. And I think that's the same way that you can argue with Mahomes, just because they're the guys that are ending up at the Super Bowls. But this is supposed to be a regular season award, at least in theory. And while it was close, I don't. I think if you're looking objectively at this, at the stats and the wins and all that stuff, it's Lamar by a mile. That I, it's funny. My buddy put big money at the beginning of the season on Lamar Jackson to win MVP, and then Aiden Hutchinson to win Defensive Player of the Year, which looked like two great bets. Obviously, before Aiden went down and got hurt, and then basically, before the media got fully behind Josh on the win, that I would be in favor of them doing like almost like the top 100 players. That's how they get the win, because the players, I think they put these guys at 1 and 2 most likely, or Saquon. That I think that's how you should kind of determine that you almost create a weighting system, that those guys, because like these people that are voting for these awards, I'm not really sure who they are. Like, I know that there's media members that have it. I think one of the guys off of the Pat McAfee show actually is a vote. So I just don't really know who these guys voting are. But I mean, congrats to Josh. He's had a hell of a year. Like, obviously, he got paid big money a couple years ago. Just got engaged to a smoking hot actress and won MVP. So if he had managed to win a Super Bowl, like, that's the dream year basically. And then, this just kind of rubs dirt in the wound for the Ravens even more. That you rob Lamar Jackson of a MVP, and then obviously they lost in the playoffs that on a heartbreaker to send it to overtime. That's just a tough end of the year if you're a Ravens fan. But these guys will probably be these two guys, and then I would say Joe Burrow are probably going to be in the hunt for that MVP for the next, I would guess, 3 to 4 years, and we'll see if Lamar kind of drops off if his athleticism kind of goes down. Same with Josh. I think of those three, as long as he can stay healthy, Joe Burrow is going to be the long term probably most likely guy to win multiple more MVPs. But yeah, I think you saw a robbery. But and then bouncing over to an award that really didn't surprise anybody was Saquon Barkley won the Offensive Player of the Year. Dude had a chance to set the all time rushing record, which in my opinion, all of these records should have an asterisk since they have an extra game, especially if they're gonna put more. That I you're seeing these guys get either break records, whether that's receivers or whatever, but you're forgetting that they have a whole extra game to do it. And so Saquon was prepared or gonna break that record, but they cut that extra game off so he was healthy in the postseason, which obviously now looks like a great choice. I probably would have let him go for it. I think I said that previously, but I would have given him a shot at that historical record, and it's just something that you don't really see that often. The only guys that I really remember coming in close besides Saquon was I think Adrian Peterson was sniffing it for a little bit, and then Chris Johnson, who everybody forgets about that one year that he had with the Tennessee Titans back in the day. But I mean, everybody kind of like this was the safest bet to win Offensive Player of the Year. I think the only guy you maybe could have put in there was Jamar Chase, just because he won that Triple Crown. But realistically, I think everybody knew coming into this award show that Saquon was going to win it, which just doubles down on the whole. The Giants made one of the worst mistakes in division in NFL history, letting your best offensive player go and then prove to everybody that your organization's the reason why he wasn't this for the last couple of years. What I think it's like 6 years maybe, or however long he has been in the league. He's been this good the whole time. It's this year garbage organization wasn't giving him that opportunity. So, congrats to the Giants on getting to see this rubbed in their face more. And I'm amazed that their GM kept their job. But you gotta root for Saquon, and I'm rooting for him on Sunday because I, it's gonna be a rough year if the Chiefs win another one. But that's another topic. And then obviously the one I'm most excited for, Pat Surtain from the Broncos is your defensive player of the year. Been a lockdown corner all year. I think the big difference this year is he actually got those picks. Like he's been doing this for the last I think 3 years, 3 4 years, however long he's been in there. It's just no one threw at him, so he wasn't getting those picks. And this year, he finally transitioned to getting those picks. And whenever like this award, similar to how the MVP is built for quarterbacks primarily, this award is built for pass rushers because it's like the sexy stat or the sexy stat. Because in theory, the best cornerbacks in the league just don't get thrown at. So their best stats is a zero catch game for the receiver. And that doesn't look sexy to a voter or on paper. So if they're not making pick sixes or interceptions, which is the DB's sexy stat, you're never gonna get close to this. That it's an exciting time to be a Broncos fan because not only do we have Vanilla Vic, who was in the running for Rookie of the Year offensively, but you got the best defensive player in football right now and easily the best cornerback in the league as well. So I, he's going to be with my Broncos for at least another 4 or 5 years, whatever that length on that contract he just signed. And I couldn't be happier because, as weird as it sounds, my favorite play or like player or style of play to watch is good cornerback play because it's so difficult. You are no clue technically what the receiver is going to do. You're purely reactionary. I think it's the hardest position outside of quarterback, and even then, I might argue in football because you're playing against the best athletes. You have no clue what their script is to do, and you're working backwards. That uh, if you're a big fan, like just turn on any of his tape, it's just beautiful to watch. And this year he finally transitioned to getting that pick, and obviously he's a big physical cornerback that is also a good tackler. So I was really pumped to not even if you take my love for the Broncos out of this, just to see a cornerback get in here. I thought they were going to try to give it to like a TJ Watt or Miles Garrett kind of player, uh, just to stay in that kind of that pass rusher sack realm. Even though their stats weren't as great this year, even though they're disruptive and great players, I think they got this one right. He's been just a monster all year. He shut down literally every single number one receiver. I don't think anybody got over 50 yards on him all season, and I think the only one that was close was Jamar Chase, which is no shame on that. So, congrats to Pat Surtain. Love you in Broncos country, and keep it up. And then another one that I kind of wish would have gone to a different player, but Joe Burrow won the comeback player of the year. Obviously hurt his I think his arm or his hand or wrist, something on his throwing hand last year pretty early on, and then came back and balled out this year. I thought he actually should have been in the MVP conversation. I think if his team had won more, I think it would have been a landslide for him, especially cuz everybody loves Joe Burrow and he's unanimously a top 4 quarterback, and you can put him wherever in that range. A lot of people, if he was healthy, would take him at 1, but I would have actually rather seen this go to Sam Darnold. I think seeing those guys that resurrect their career is a little more impressive than seeing this guy that's been just a top quarterback in the league this whole time come back and do what we expect out of him. No one in a million years thought that Sam Darnold was going to do what he did. That I would have liked to seen him go there. Uh, but Joe Burrow is obviously a more than capable winner, especially because I was saying that he was in the MVP conversation and coming off an injury. Like that's just kind of where it goes. So uh, I thought his acceptance speech was a little passive aggressive because he was just like, I get my ass beat every year, so I'm always hurt. So I did think it was a subtle jab at the Bengals, whether he meant it or not. But uh, yeah, congrats, Joe Burrow. And then we got our rookie awards, and to nobody's surprise, Jayden Daniels is your offensive rookie of the year, best rookie season that I've ever seen, and is arguably in NFL history. Obviously, led the godforsaken Washington Commanders to the deep into the playoffs. Which again, these awards aren't supposed to be playoff awards, but I really struggle to see how it doesn't. Because I mean, even bouncing back to the Josh Allen Lamar thing in the season, Lamar whipped Josh Allen and the Bills, and then they lost in the playoffs. That was kind of the last image you saw was Josh beating Lamar, and I think that's gotta play into it. But yeah, if you look at like the breakdown on the rookies that won Offensive Rookie of the Year, the only two guys that really were in discussion for this award was Jayden Daniels and Bo Nix, aka Vanilla Vic. Uh, People tried to hype up Caleb Williams into this conversation, which is a joke based off of his numbers and this the team record. Basically anything, they were just trying to do it because he was the number one overall pick, and he would come up with a couple of like one crazy play a game. But I mean you just can't even argue this one. Like if you look down at the breakdown, it's like 13 of the 18 weeks or whatever. It's like well over half Jayden was winning it. That this is another well deserved one. Like as a Broncos fan, would have loved to see Bo, and he had a little hype for a little bit, but I mean, at some point, you got to tip your cap to the guy and just say like they got this one right, because Jayden Daniels had an amazing season for a team that no one thought was going to do what they did. So, and then Jared Verse won the Defensive Rookie of the Year. This one I was a little curious how they were going to go, because I didn't think there throughout the season there was this overwhelming force that you saw. Like I remember when Jalen Ramsey came into the league a while ago, that was all that everybody could talk about. Same with Sauce Gardner or Micah Parsons. Like I didn't really think until late in the year there was that guy, and that guy turned out to be Jared Verse with the Rams, who just a stud pass rusher that uh yeah, you finally found the heir apparent to Aaron Donald. I know their position's a little bit different, but you finally got that guy that you can build your defense around. And yeah, if you're a Rams fan, all that F them picks that they were doing a couple years ago, I think this is the side that you potentially gave up a little bit. Like obviously you won a Super Bowl, so at the end of the day it's a win. Uh, but you're missing on these top flight impact players that you can build your franchise around on cheap deals. So, uh, yeah, it was a little bit of a shakeup just because of that MVP in mind or in my mind. The only other one I wasn't really sure on where they would go with is comeback player, but yeah, outside of that, I think all these guys they got right, other than the MVP, and then objectively, I would have. I can't fault Joe Burrow as the comeback player, but I would have loved to see Sam Darnold get his shine in that place. But yeah, that's my reaction to the NFL awards this year. Lamar Jackson got fucked over by being too good for too long, and we'll see if it rights the ship next year, or if Josh keeps getting it, or they spread it around a little bit. But thank you for watching. This has been Jack Paisley, the Sports Casual.